Hello, it's Henry again with another video on, in this case, what I do about the insect pests when we're hiking down the trail. If you enjoy my channel, please consider subscribing. It would help me a great deal to build my channel. Thank you very much.
Hello, it's Henry again. I'm talking to you today about a topic that many people are concerned about when they go in the woods, and that's bugs. Bugs of various kinds depending on where you live and your situation. Now, generally speaking, you're going to be fairly familiar with the bugs in your area. I'm going to talk about the bugs here in Ontario that generally concern us when we're in the forest. Now, we could just say the heck with it and get bitten and not worry about it. And sometimes we do that, depending on where we are. However, it could either because we know more, or maybe things have changed a bit with the climate and so on over the last 50 years, there are things and diseases you can catch from getting bitten from insects. And so the idea of protecting yourself as a balance between the irritation that they produce, which is by far the thing that almost everyone notices, to the chances of getting sick. Now, of course, this video is entirely my own opinions, and I am not a entomologist, and I am not a diseaseologist, so I don't have any professional opinions on this. But I am saying that, to me, any type of disease you get from an insect is going to be a probability function. So you're going to have a chance of A, encountering the bug, B, that the bug decides to bite you, and C, that that bug is carrying a pathogen, and D, that for some reason, with whatever else goes on in your body, you actually catch the disease. So those four things kind of have to happen in the way I look at it. And so, you know, I walk around on my lawn and so on. I don't wear anything. Now, maybe I'm a fool. Lots of people think so. But that's sort of how I will look at it. On the other hand, living in Northern Ontario, the bugs are far more aggressive than they are, let's suppose, in a subdivision near Toronto. And so if you are going to protect yourself, you have to be more aggressive about it, because they, whether it's just your raw enjoyment of the trip or the health issues that you may be concerned about. Now, before I go any further, a couple of bug stories for me. My biggest mosquito story probably was about 40 years ago. My buddy and I were canoeing into a lake in Temagami, and we got there around 10 o'clock in the morning in late June. And we just put the canoe on our shoulders and started the hike, and out of the grass came mosquitoes so thick that I could barely see him in front of me. And that's still, I think, probably my worst mosquito story. Now, those of you who watch my channel, when on the Minkiashkiakwi canoe trip we did back in the early part of the summer, the first 2 nights were spent on Mink Lake, and the campsite in general was very nice, but the Thunderbox was right beside a swamp with standing water, so it's just absolutely the place where mosquitoes are born. And so sitting on that Thunderbox, I had to constantly sweep my arms and my legs, or there must have been anywhere from 300 to 500 mosquitoes on me at the time. Now, I had neglected to bring any chemical repellent, and so I had to put up with it. I think that it worked out, for the most part, not too badly. Now, the other thing for me is that I've been bitten so much in my life, starting as a kid on a farm before we really had anything, to spending more time in the forest as I got older and had my freedoms, that I find a lot of times that maybe only 1 out of 100 bites actually bother me, in the sense of itching and so forth. So that may happen if you're an experienced backcountry person, or it could just be body chemistry. But if you've never really gone to the backcountry and you go out there, it can be quite a thing for you, especially here in Northern Ontario. So You know, if you've been in the city and this is your first trip to Algonquin Park in you know, early July, that can be quite a change in your concept of bugs. My black fly story, in comparison, is in the United States. I was with my wife and we drove up Whiteface Mountain on the road, and the last, I don't know, 300 feet, probably about a mile worth of walking to get to the actual summit. And the black flies were out. This was 18th, 20th of June or something like that. And I had white socks on, and by the time I got back down from the summit, those socks were black because there were so many black flies around my ankles that as I walked, my boots squished them. So that's the black fly story. That was really something else. But you do get interesting situations. We were in New Hampshire in mid-July one time, and New Hampshire's a state that's pretty steep. And so we walked through the forest there and climbed the mountains, and we didn't have any mosquitoes at all because there's no ponds. It's a straight, the black flies are something else, but the ponds just weren't there, so we didn't really have any problem with it. So it's something you can be surprised about. I can't remember what the other story was. So, if the irritation thing is simply a choice of how much you can put up with. There are creams you can get. The irritation thing is just something you're going to have to choose with you, how much you want to put up with it. You can get creams that will deal with the itching that are reasonably effective at your pharmacy. There's no-name creams and name creams, and I don't know, I find they all kind of work about the same. But again, if you want some peace, then you're going to have to do something to protect you from the bugs. And that's what most people are going to notice. We can have the fears of getting bitten by an infected bug. That's a fair discussion. But I think most of us are going to respond to the initial effect of just the bugs being everywhere all at the same time. So the hazards, in addition to you're looking at West Nile virus, Lyme disease is two of the favorite ones, but there's a lot of other ones too that are perhaps lower probability. And again, it'll depend on your health as to how serious you need to take these things, and that's not the discussion for me. That's something that you need to talk about with your doctor or whatever. So let's get to the point of protection, and what are you going to do to protect yourself from the bugs? And you have basically two things you can do, and you can combine them. So one is some type of physical protection, some kind of bug jacket or clothing or something like that, okay? And the other is some kind of chemical that will, in theory, repel the bugs. And each of these have their strengths and weaknesses. So I used to own it. I don't know what's happened to it. I think I brought it out over the years with the sweat. So I used to hike in long pants, and they were baggy, kind of combat type pants or something. But I found as I got older, I get too hot in them. That's just my problem, and I'm prone to heat exhaustion. And so I've been hiking in shorts for 25 to 30 years now, and I wouldn't go back. If I walk in long pants, it's below 5°C in temperature. I've even started hikes that I know where it's going to warm up that are below freezing in shorts, and just gut it out until it warms up a little bit, or I warm up a little bit. So the problem with wearing full clothing, so if you see my friend Frank in some of my videos, he will wear full clothing, and that is the protection, and he doesn't need any chemical. Now there's nothing, that's a great way to do it. I just get way too hot and I can't handle it. And it enervates me and makes it harder for me to finish the day. So I don't want to do that. Originally I had the original bug shirt. I'm going to put a picture of that on this over my shoulder. And on the surface it was pretty good. It had a very nice screen thing. It was made out of cotton, which wicks away moisture from your skin and makes it kind of cool. There's vents, screens under the arms, and so on. I thought, that might be okay. It kept the bugs away, but I found when I was doing anything, it just was too hot. And that's just my own personal circumstance. back in the day, and I don't think I have a picture of this any longer, I had a bug shirt I bought at the Sportsman Show in Toronto that was billowed. It was sewed with billows in it. And the nice part about that is it kept the screen away from your skin. Because even though you have a screen, that doesn't mean the little rascals can't get through it if it's right against your skin. So you need to billow it away. And that unfortunately fell out of my pack one time, and it's gone. And I really, it's a shame because I really liked it. I've never been able to find that type of bug jacket again. So to mock up one, what I found is that you get these screen type bug jackets. They're fairly inexpensive. Canadian Tire has them, and a host of other places I guess too. But they're fully mesh, okay? And the mesh is fine enough. There's nothing wrong with that. But once again, if you just wear this, anywhere the pack touches you, anywhere where you're pulling on your elbow or something like that, it's going to get you. So I've found wearing one of these, I've had trouble around the back of my arms where the pack attaches, or just about anywhere else where the screen is laying against my skin by accident. So the secret to this, for me, has been to wear two of them. And by taking the second one I got is an extra large, and I just put it over top of the first one. And it works pretty well for me. And this basically mocks up what I had with the original bug jacket, where I had the two. Now there's two hoods, of course. So I use this first jacket, my large jacket, I wear it on the inside, and if I am going to wear the hood, I wear this hood, the inner hood. And then the second one, I just tuck the hood down into the jacket and not worry about it. And it works pretty well. If you watch my video on the Baggies woods, I think, I have this system being used because the bugs came out during the thunderstorm. They don't weigh very much, so it's certainly no problem to carry them in your pack and put them on when you think you need them and so forth. So that's a for real way to do it. Now, obviously, this only covers your waist, and then you have to think about your legs. And I find, again, I need the cooling. I don't even wear gaiters fully up to my knee in most places. I'll wear them at my ankles just to keep the dirt out of my boots and keep my legs bare for the cooling I get. So that's when we go to the chemicals. Now, there's lots of stories about different kinds of chemicals for your backyard. In the North Woods, most of those are ineffective. Now, there's nothing to say they don't have some strength in the subdivisions. And again, this is just my experience. I started off using a deep product. This is off. When I was a kid, back in the day, in the late 70s, early 80s, I used Muskol. Muskol in those days was in a small bottle. It was 95% DEET. And it was like an oil, and you smeared it on, and believe me, it worked. And for 8 hours, you didn't have nothing to worry about. However, the government's decided that that's not good for you. So now we have, I think it's 28% is the limit on these things. It's an aerosol can. I find that as much as it probably isn't as effective in the sense that it sprays all over the place, I really do like the aerosol can for coverage versus the pumps. And also the pumps tend to leak. And that comes to the second problem, is some people really don't like the DEET. And the DEET has another problem in that it's very corrosive, if you want to call it that, to plastics. And I've ruined cameras and camera parts, tablecloths, tools, by having DEET on my hands and handling those items. The chemical, it'll dissolve them. So you have to be very, very careful using this product, and it's at 28% even, around other things that are made of plastic. And of course today, that's everything practically. And especially things like your cell phone, which could be a very expensive thing to replace. Or your camera equipment of one kind or another, even those point and shoot cameras, so you want to be really careful having this around. So what I do is I make sure that I don't have this anywhere near my hands where I'm going to eat or use it. So I spray this on my legs and make sure the back of my knees and all the rest where they normally go, and either wear shorts and make sure it goes up my legs a little bit. The back of my arms here This is a very vulnerable area. It seems that the bugs know I'm not paying attention there. And then also on the top of my back, where the pack comes in contact with my back, even though you're wearing 2 screens, if you are, then it presses against you. Now, if the bugs aren't too bad, I might not bother with the bug jackets, spray my legs, spray my arm, the back of my arms, and call it a day. Sometimes I'll spray the back of my neck. But I really try to be very prescriptive. The other thing is, if you've seen me hiking, is I'm wearing my hiking gloves with my poles. And if I apply this, I have the gloves on. And so once again, I don't have any of my forearms here. I also try to be mindful not to touch my legs too much if I'm sitting somewhere. And for the most part, that's a compromise that I can live with. Well, I forgot to mention is when you're wearing the bug jacket, whichever one it is, if you're covering your face, if you wear a baseball cap of one kind or another, it'll keep the mesh away from your face, and that's kind of nice. So that's something to think about. If you're a person who spits a bit when you're hiking on a hill or just because you do, and you're wearing and you forget that you're wearing a bug jacket, you'll only do that once. Finally, more recently, this is a second chemical that's come out in carton, and I was told about it by some friends, and I bought it, and I thought, I think it kind of works. I just feel, based on my experience up to now, that it's not as effective as this, so it's kind of in between. Now, when this applies to your skin, it's oily, and sometimes by the end of the day, you hardly notice it anymore. I'm just saying. When this applies on your skin, it's sticky. It's a different feeling, and usually by the end of the day, if I've worn it, I want to have a shower, swim, bath of some kind or other to wash it off before I go to bed. That doesn't make it bad. That's just how it is. I tried this for a while. I feel, at least up here in the north, that I just don't find the effectiveness is quite what I want. And then I've been kind of sticking with tried and true here, with whatever hazards it may have. And so if you see me going through and it's busy, I'm spraying my legs, spraying the back of my arms, spraying the top of my back of my neck maybe. And if it's really bad, wearing the screens on my body. Sometimes I'll wear the screens and not cover my face. Sometimes with mosquitoes, especially if you're walking and keep moving at 4 or 5 km an hour, they don't bother you. If you stop, that's when they get you. So it just depends. If you have issues, as you sometimes get, if it's, say, a bit drier in August, you get deer flies. Deer flies are a bigger insect, and they're not deterred by the chemicals. The only way you're going to stop deer flies with physical protection, and that can be a challenge, to balance the heat versus keeping them off you. And they hurt when they bite, so that's another thing. Anyhow, so that's what I do with bugs, and I don't know, I just like being in the woods, and I love the sounds. I'm sure if you're listening to this video right now, you'll hear the crickets we have here, and I just enjoy all of it mixed together, and I just kind of hold them off a little bit so I can still enjoy my trip. But if I'm in my tent and there's 500 mosquitoes outside, I don't mind. They're not bothering me at all, so it's quite all right, and and that's nature. Anyhow, if you enjoy my videos and find them at all useful, I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing to my channel, help me build my channel. First goal, of course, is to get to 100 subscribers, and we'll go from there. I really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you down the trail.